So one thing I like to do is I always like to find little tweaks to try to make something better or more user-friendly, or in general just to adapt to, you know, what size of fish I'm targeting or species. And so one thing is I'm a really big fan of is glide baits. You know, it's a heavy bait. You can fish deep fast. You can fish it very fast if you're casting and retrieving it. It's a great warm water summertime bait. This particular one here is the Johnny Darter. You know, you have the oversized hook in here, which is really good for those, you know, summertime open water fish, but relatively small hook here in the bottom. And that's what I want to talk about, is a little tweak that I like to do and really open up this hook here on the bottom. But one thing that a lot of times you have to be careful of is if you put a bigger hook on here on the bottom, a lot of times you have to deal with that hook that wanting to try to wrap around the back or the top of this or catch on your line. And so this little tweak I have today that I like to do for the, you know, utilizing a bigger hook on, say this is a number 7 Johnny Darter. This is a 3/4, almost 1 ounce bait here. And so if I can get a bigger hook gap, obviously more appealing for using it for bigger fish, but you're dealing with a fish that can throw around a 1 ounce bait in its mouth. And so it's one of those things where if I can just get away with a little bit meatier hook, that's what I want to go with. So first things first, you know, with these glide baits, I mean, they're one of those baits that are very dangerous to work with. So a lot of times what I like to do, it has a little clip here on the bottom to open it up. You know, so one thing I like to do is basically rest this bait on the floor, so that way that either the bait can't slip out of my hand, and also, you know, keep the pliers rested on somewhat of the floor. So if the treble hook does come free, you know, that sudden pop like that, the pliers doesn't slip out of my hand. Treble hook goes one way, bait goes into my hand this way. So I always like to rest everything on a solid surface there, so that way I can just keep those hooks out of my hand. But now that we have the hook off the bottom here, I just simply opened up that clip a little bit, made it a little bit easier. And this particular bait, I like to use a number 6, and I like to open that up a little bit. But now here's the tweak that I like to do. It can be any plastic. You can, you know, be particular with your colors to match it to the bait. We have a fire tiger bait here. This is just a little twitch-tail minnow. It could be a worm, but just a little half to quarter-inch size chunk of plastic. And what I do here is I take this plastic, and now I'm gonna slide it down the shank of the treble hook, and basically right down the middle, and that way so I can still see the eye. Now I'm gonna go back with my pliers, grab the shank of this treble hook, same thing, rest everything on the ground. Now I'm gonna basically be, you know, prying back up to get this to come back on there. And so simply, now all I need to do is close up that eye. But what I'm gonna do now is take that plastic and slide it up onto that little open eye keeper that holds that treble hook on here. Now what that's gonna do is really gonna help keep that treble hook in place. It's gonna keep it down for one, but it's not gonna allow it to wanna double back onto itself. A lot of times sharp treble hooks here, they stick into the paint or they stick into the lead, and it really, obviously, you know, for one, if you're fishing it, you know, it follows your bait immediately. But what this also does is it keeps that treble hook open and out, so when these fish are swatting at it, it's a fast moving bait. It's one of those things where it's keeping the hook exposed, but also more importantly, like I said, keeps the bait from following, not allowing that treble hook to double around the back and hook on the top. So it's just one of those tweaks that I like to do that really helps you, you know, use a bigger hook, especially when it comes to, you know, going after those bigger walleyes or even bass for that matter. But it just opens up, gives me better hook percentage, and helps me fish more efficiently.